Right.
The outdoor dining that was passed during the June of 2020, there was no requirement that the ABCC come in and inspect. Well, this will be like a formal extension of premises that has to go through all the checks. Been working with Lauren Drago, who's the associate planner. There is a belief that there will be a few establishments in Lynn that would like to continue. I know Chow and Rosetti's really didn't use the outdoor dining, I think, at all this summer. Four Winds, I think, has expressed a desire. Rollies has expressed a desire, and maybe some restaurants on Union Street as well.
Now, if they're on public street, how do we handle that?
You know, they'll be required by law to go to the council and get council approval. I think Somerville has got a system in place where they determine what the maximum meters are, what you would typically bring in for meter revenue, and figure out how many spaces you're losing, and they would come up with a rental fee if you are losing parking spaces, and that'll be something the council and the mayor and the planning department, I know, have been working on. We certainly don't want the outdoor dining for 4 or 5 tables to cost more than the liquor license, which is $2,500. So something that's fair and equitable, but also recognizes that there will be a loss of parking, in some cases loss of revenue.
They don't pay for the extension of premises.
No, but in Somerville, they are going to charge an additional fee for the use of city property if it's a street or a sidewalk.
Okay.
Particularly a street because of meter parking.
Now, who would deal with that?
That would be the city council. They would have to, similar, all these liquor licenses, for the most part, except for downtown and on the water, they need a special permit and approval of the license commission. That dual process of would have to be followed.
And they would set the fees?
For the use of the public street, correct.
Okay. And who's going to collect those fees?
Well, we haven't got there yet.
Come on.
I would assume, to be honest, it would be probably the parking department, because that'd be the revenue source that would be lost if metered spaces are lost. I don't believe Union Street has meters, so it may not, there may be a moot point as far as equating it to meters. Four Winds and Rollies are not, well, Rollies is a few parking spaces, but Four Winds is their own parking lot. And Rollies purchased the land behind there, and they were awarded the bid, so they actually own that land for the purposes of restaurants. So I'm sure that application will be making its way before the board and the ABCC as we get closer to the spring.
Is Lazy Dog in the same situation?
They did not express a desire for outdoor dining. It was only Rollies that had that patio out for the summer of 2021. City Council put that area out to bid. I think it was like 20 by 40 square feet for a sale.
Okay.
Any other business? Oh, do we need a motion?
If the board would wish to proceed with that.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? or-
Nope.
Okay, then I can entertain a motion.
Miguel?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
No, make a motion that we approve the RFP
The meters.
for the 2 wine and malt licenses and 1 all alcohol.
That's a misprint.
3, oh, that's a misprint?
Yeah. Great.
3, all alcohol, 3 wine and malt and 1 all alcohol licenses.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we?
Hi, motion, Freddie Miguel.
How are you?
Okay, so
Okay.
you're going to give me the corrected one,
Yep, I got that right there. Yeah, and I'll work with Tim Leonard to make sure it's
and
submitted.
I'll email it all to you.
Okay, any other business? Janet?
I have nothing. No, I'm good.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Thank you all.
Mr. Wooten?
Present.
Mr. McLeod?
Present.
Get that right. Mrs. Crowitz? Present. Mr. Callen? Present. Mrs. Curley? Mr. Wood?
Present. Okay, before I go ahead with the minutes from the last meeting, I just thought I would make note to everyone that one of our associate members, Danye Smith, has withdrawn from the board. He's going to work for the mayor, and I could just read some of his, here's Mrs. Curley. He's wanted to thank the city and the mayor, former Mayor McGee, for putting him on the board, and he enjoyed serving here. And so Danye will be missed. He was a nice, committed member of the zoning board, so he's no longer with us. So just wanted to mention that as part of our business tonight. And regarding our last meeting, was that December, what was the date of the last meeting?
Middle.
16th, I think?
Yep,
16.
December.
Okay, so regarding the minutes to the meeting for December 16th, does anyone have any corrections or additions? And
Motion to accept it,
okay, so I have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting. Second that?
I second.
I got a second from Mr. Wooten. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, so we accept the minutes for the last meeting. And now on to tonight's business. Two cases. And the first case is number 9987. And this is at 14 Lawton Ave. And the petitioner is Junior Pilier. Am I saying that right? So the petition is to vary the provisions of the City of Lynn zoning ordinance to allow the conversion of a two-family home into a three-family home lacking sufficient square footage and sufficient parking as required by the City of Lynn zoning ordinance. And so, is it, how do I say your last name?
Pilier.
Pilier?
Yeah.
Pilier is something with blind.
Pardon me?
Pilier is for blind. I'm Marcos from Flow Design Architects.
Okay, all right. So if you would give your name
Mr.
to...
Wood, who's on this case?
That's right, so we have the four regular members, and I guess Mr. Makuha, if you would take the first one?
Sure.
Okay. So, and your name again?
Marcos Arrego.
Okay, if you would... What's that, Mayor? Mary, did you have a...
No, she was asking where I was. I'm sorry,
Okay,
what's
so-
his name?
Marcos.
Marcos?
He's the designer.
Yeah, we're there.
Oh, Severino?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, I talked to you today.
Representing
Yep,
Mr. Pilier.
thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I have the plans.
So if you'd like to present your case...
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Good evening, board. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Anthony Marcos, representing the client at 14 Lawton Avenue. The project is located in R4, which by right, four families allowed, multi-families allowed. The existing property is a two-family, so the owner wants to turn a portion of the basement into a open living kitchen area with a small bathroom. And I'm here basically because of this lot is actually pretty small. So like the code requires a minimum of 15,000 square feet, but his lot is actually only almost 2,000 square feet. He has on-site parking, about 2 of them, but he needs 1.5 parking spaces per unit, which equals to 4.5.
Or 5.
5.
Yeah.
Parking spaces. So we are lacking 3 parking spaces by codes requires.
And
parking plan, a certified parking plan, a certified parking.
do you have one, a certified...
2. He actually has.
No, do you have a plan? Do you have by an architect? No. No.
Professional land surveyor.
The only plan we have is the plan that was done when he bought the property, which is located at.
No, but I mean, a parking plan.
We do not have that.
Okay. So Is it Attorney Marcos?
No, I'm the architect. We are the architects.
And I couldn't get your last name.
Severino?
Severino. So Mrs. Severino, okay. So, you know, I was there to look at the property yesterday, and I see 3 mailboxes there now. There were 3 mailboxes there yesterday. Yeah, so I'm guessing that they're on the first, second, and third floor?
It's only, I believe, it's only the first floor and the second floor. If there is a mobile mailbox, I don't think it's another unit. It's,
Well, there were 3 mailboxes there.
yeah, because I went to measure only the basement, so I can only testify for that.
Yeah, and quite the hazardous backyard. I mean, there's, you know, it looks like about, 10 to 15 foot, almost like a cliff. It just drops right off there in the back. That was quite dangerous. Very close to the exit from the basement there. If someone came out in a, harried state, it'd be very dangerous. And the fire escape looked, if you call it that, that wooden structure there, that looked really, didn't look safe. If you looked like if you put a couple people on that, it could be very dangerous. The wood was quite old and just looked unsafe.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Are you planning on doing any improvement around the property, any additional improvement? Besides the basement apartment, the egress, the structure right now, the drop in the backyard, are you planning on doing anything to resolve that?
Well, I'm unaware that the owner was planning on doing so.
Yeah.
But if we're mentioning, we included in the plans, and based on on the conversation that I'm having today,
Yeah.
we can definitely add to it.
So any other way you can solve the parking situation? Long Ave is a very busy street. Like, what can you give the city back, for not having enough parking space, and you're asking us to give you an additional apartment? You already don't have enough now for the 2 apartment that you have, right?
Yeah.
Now you're asking us to allow you to give, to build another apartment.
Yeah.
So how are you planning to compensate for the lack of parking space? I know that's the variance you're asking for today. Is there another way you could do it with the neighbors? Is there anything else out there?
Yeah, honestly, if you compare all of the units that are around the area, they're actually not the same issue. So it's not something I could testify for the client. So if we were talking about bigger development, I would be able to tell you, maybe we could add more parking here and there, but this is something that he already doesn't have, the parking, so which is a major issue throughout the entire area.
Which makes it really difficult to give a variance, because there's just really no solution in the neighborhood. It's very tight. I parked just for a minute in front. I just, stopped the car running. There's no really, it's a tight street.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
it's kind of a big ask, really. Does any other board members have any other questions or comments?
It's so congested up there. When I was up there, I couldn't even find a place to stop the car.
Right.
Because the cars behind me wanted to get by, and there was nowhere to go. So they just had to wait for me. But I can't imagine. You don't even have enough parking now. Never mind you want another apartment. I can't imagine. I can go through that. I'm sorry.
I feel the same way, yeah. I mean, Mr. Callen was asking for a certified parking plot plan, but I just would feel bad if he got that, because I don't think it's going to change the mind. Myself personally, and Mrs. Curley's not feeling that way either, so,
A studio requires the same amount.
It's an apartment.
Even a studio?
I believe, just an apartment's an apartment, 1.5. You can have 2 people living in a studio, and it's tight, but there's no other rule for a studio. So
It's a tough one.
I know.
But as you understand,
I understand.
anyone else on the board have any other Lots of comments. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the petition on 14 Lawton Street, Lawton Ave? Anyone else want to speak in favor? Okay, hearing no one coming forward to speak in favor, open the hearing to anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? One more time, I'll ask anyone else, anyone want to speak in opposition? Okay, hearing none, I would ask the board, what is the wish of the board?
It seems very congested up there. I don't know, I'm not feeling it.
You want to take a vote? I mean, just take a vote.
Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to deny, and we have a second. Mrs. Curley made the motion, Mr. Callen made, seconded. Can you call the roll, Mary?
Mr. McElroy?
Denied.
Mrs. Kravitz?
Deny.
Mrs. Curley?
Deny.
Mr. Callen?
Denied.
Mr. Wood?
Deny. Sorry about that, Mrs. Severino. We wish you well, but we feel a responsibility to the neighborhood, and it would be a big burden on the neighborhood, so.
Yeah, it'll be a little too much over there.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next case is case number 9988. Mr. Wooten, you stay on this one? Okay, this is for 93, case number 9988 for 93 Warren Street. The petitioner is Antulio Lopez by his attorney, Sam Vitale, and is to vary the provisions of City of Lynn zoning ordinance.
Health of our lunch line monitor, and we try to entice kids to try things. But it's equally important for kids to come in and take the sides off the salad bar, because if you take the portions that are allowed along with the meal, you're actually bulking up your intake. You know, I had a wonderful person a few years ago from Desi tell me that it's very important that they take the extra stuff, because we're giving them like 7 days of nutrition in 5 days if they participate and they show up to school every day. So, you know, it's a twofold. You have to come, receive the nourishment, and then, you know, I mean, we have kids trying all kinds of things now. And I do see that the menu has changed. It has changed. We have lots of sides. We have lots of new items coming up on the menu. I mean, I don't feel that we prepare bad food. I wouldn't. You know, I would pick up the phone and call and we would put something else in. You know, we offer different varieties sometimes at our school, but we're a smaller school. I'm at Tech. I'm not at the bigger school, so I can't speak on there. You know, but at Tech, I mean, there are times when my cook, myself, if I'm in the cook's aisle and I don't cook like she does, I cook like I do. You know, where we all cook differently. Everybody cooks differently. But as far as preparing different things, if I think this isn't going to go, hey, I'm going to throw 100 meatball subs together, or I'm going to throw something else out. I'm not going to not accommodate everybody that comes in. You know, when we prepare our breakfast items, we prepare with no cheese, we prepare with no turkey sausage. We try to accommodate everybody coming through the line. You know, at our school, we prepare a full hut. We do not, you know, kids coming late or after 7:45 or 8 o'clock, you know, they're still welcome to come, but they might not get that bagel sandwich, but we adjust our hut meal breakfast to accommodate, always up it if it needs to come up, and lower it when it goes down. We are a small school, so we can do that. Again, I can't speak about the bigger schools. But I do see the revolution food in my kitchen because of the cubbies. And I have seen an improvement in what's coming in. A different variety of menus, things have been offered now, and I do feel that they're different than they were last year. But again, I'm not in a cook's position, so I'm not into the, you know, the ordering or whatever. I just work at the school. But thank you for your time. Like I said, we love what we do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Marion Minower. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. I've been cook, well, a heater-upper at the school, at the Ford School for 37 years. And I take pride in my work, and I love my job. I just absolutely love it. And I just wanted to say that this year, the revolutionary foods there, everything comes in fresh. There's no preservatives in it. That's why you cannot keep this food for a long time. You have to use it right up. And the produce that has been coming in has been really, really good for the kids. There's a variety. There's pineapple and kiwi, cantaloupe, honeydew, all fresh, all in little containers, or little bags. But like I said, the food comes in fresh and it has to be served fresh. And I would not serve a child anything that I would not serve my own. And that's, that's about it. The other food that we used to get before came in frozen. This is all fresh prepared. And you have to use it. You cannot keep it like in your refrigerator for 4 or 5 days. It has to be used up. So as long as you use it up during the day, it's fine. And there's a variety for the children. It's not like, they keep serving the same thing over and over again. There's a variety in this. I think it's better. It's better than it was last year. So they're getting better with everything. And you can make suggestions for the kids, like, making fruit cups and juices. And just give us suggestions for the kids. Because everybody eats different. Let's face it, everybody eats different. Everybody cooks different at night. And in the morning, there's a lot of variety. There's muffins, there's yogurt, there's granola. So if they don't like one thing, there's always something else. Because there's choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheryl, Judge?
No, I wasn't speaking, I just signed on
Okay,
that.
all right.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there anyone else that would like to speak with the respondents? Anyone else to speak with the respondents? Anyone else to speak for the respondents? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Thank you.
It feels like each time is like a new adventure.
I know.
You know what I mean?
All right, I want you to step over that way. We got a little bit of play here. Move this out of the way, over here. Are you good? Is this enough room for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You ate the sloppy Joe and then gave me the sloppy. Thank you. Like the only choice was right on top.
What do we have to do?
You're just doing what you're doing. Record everybody you see. He wants this going.
Oh,
I mean, about the job stuff. I didn't know because it was new.
That's a pretty good question.
Yeah, and answered the question. Yeah. So the question that Eric asked was, you said that we could discuss it. So we just need to find out. It's whether if we can go or can't. I don't know. Okay.
Thank you, ladies, for coming.
That was a good question. Do you need help?
No.
It's just slow.
It's just taking a while, hopefully.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Sherry, for coming to support you with dear friends. Come and see my kitchen.
See you guys.
I will momentarily.
Yeah, I specifically asked. It wasn't mine, but I had two. While it was there. Oh, you know what? But yes, you were right. Tatiana, thank you. Yes, so you know, this is.
All right, take care of me. Make something happen. Yeah, Dominic. And his family is also, so, hey, what can you ask for?
Okay, give me a. Yeah, under pressure. Solutions.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Mine has my code, so that's how you
You have to set your watch ahead for 11 hours.
Awesome, how are you?
John has
Up here. We'll strike last right first. Would you mind logging in? Because I think you're the last one, so it won't take so
Oh, true.
But we can do laptop too, by plugging in.
Oh, garden with it.
The after the fact recording? Yeah, but LCTV will have the after the fact recording. Yeah, so I do think that some people stream on their phone.
It was a quicker. If I did it, I would say, oh, it's gonna be.
He was sitting right over there.
I call him Mr. Smith. Do you know what he looks like?
Curly hair.
Okay, we click on that.
Just because
Open.
Yes, yeah. No. So it's usually LCTV who records it. So, yeah, so I think you can, onto your page, just grab their feed and put it onto your page.
So there should be one that says,
Yeah, well then it was going through YouTube, so then you'd have to grab the YouTube and throw it on.
this is what it did last time. How do we do this?
Yeah.
Drag it?
Yeah, let's get on the desktop.
That's the reason why I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing as last time.
Yeah, I remember you.
So we had a lot of standards.
Yeah,
Don't give us one of them.
No, I mean, from the back, maybe, yeah. I mean, not from the
type in,
front.
Paul Smith.
I don't know why that's
Yeah, last time I think it
I emailed it to myself.
Oh, that's right. Grab your laptop. You do that too. Well, you probably know what?
Hello!
Yeah, this is one they meet you. Yeah.
Thank you for your extremely detailed.
Yes.
No, it it was super informative. You would be in the super minority of parents, though. But, yeah, no, I appreciate your letting me hear what your thinking process is. That's what I asked every single parent I saw on the playground today. I texted every single parent that I know because some of them have little kids, some of them have middle school kids, some of them have high school kids. Like, I just want to know, where are you coming in on this? I want to understand where everybody's coming.
Oh, okay. Oh, beautiful. Thank God. Nothing.
And is it thrilling?
We'll be asking that.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much.
That wasn't sarcastic.
I know it's.
I haven't had a chance to dig through it. I will. Maybe this weekend or next.
The font is not big. I'm just gonna tell you, I tried to glance at it. I'm like, this is not a font for eyes this old.
Yeah, I need my specs. I might need a little extra help too.
Sunday at 6:30. Sure, that's you gonna dig it.
Right before kickoff. So last weekend,
I live with one. I am not myself one. So I am appraised of everything from like different college all the way up.
Yeah. Well, my son
We saw women's college basketball tournament there. I want to say so amazing to see 6 different my high school.
That's amazing.
My high school played then under Twin Oaks High School, so we had Secret Service at our high school basketball game. So, and so, like, you know, I didn't realize that not everybody got to see basketball like that growing up, right? George Washington, remember when George Mason went really far, like that huge year? You
It's a big city.
Recording. So you don't realize you would go to that name. So I didn't think it was that. I was like a cousin everybody. Because every single one of these plays, every character is black. You will never experience anything like that in your life.
I'm sure. One of the greatest experiences
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Capola? Present. Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately? Present. Member Magnolia? Present. Member Pena?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. First item on the agenda is Superintendent Evaluation. Ms. Presser. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
So good evening, and welcome to the new members that I have not met before. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Dorothy Presser. I'm the field director with the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. And one of the things that we do is a lot of training of school committee members about your roles and your responsibilities, as well as we're working on a policy manual review. We have a lot of resources for members on roles and responsibilities, on advocacy, on a lot of different materials, so please do feel free to reach out to us as we go through. But after that advertisement, what I'm here to talk about tonight is superintendent evaluation. It's a new and sometimes I think the first time you see it a bit of a daunting process. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough and some resources that you can use later to review or to understand further. So superintendent evaluation in Massachusetts, it's different than it used to be. It changed in 2013. In 2013, there was an achievement gap legislation. Part of that legislation was that the educator evaluation in Massachusetts would change from what it had been. There were regulations that followed. So the superintendents are evaluated as licensed educators in Massachusetts. It differs a little bit for different levels of educators, but the basic structure of the evaluation process is the same. And I'll be talking specifically about superintendent evaluation. The idea of the change was to link the evaluation more to student achievement, to have it based on several factors, and also as something that was something to help educators continually improve their practice. So not just, are you doing your job, but how can we help you become, or what is the structure in place to help educators continually improve their practice throughout their career? This is something that is now in place, as I said, for all educators. So, and it is required for all districts. It took a lot of districts a few years to actually get up and running on it, but all districts are now using it. There are some elements that are required, and there are some elements that are optional, and I'll be talking about both as we go along. So this is different than you may, if you were here before the system changed. It's different than it was, and it's probably a different system than you see maybe in other parts of your life that are, if you're also involved not in education. It does require a fair amount of attention to the process, and one of the things that I'll talk about is if you pay a lot of attention at the beginning of the evaluation cycle, it will be easier the rest of the way through the cycle. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Annual evaluations are required in most cases. For superintendents that have been in the superintendency for more than 3 years, you can, if you choose, move to a 2-year evaluation cycle, the same as a teacher on professional status would be on a 2-year cycle. And then I said, as there is a standard format that can be adapted to local circumstances. So there are 3 key components. I'm not sure how the clicker goes with you. There's a 5-step cycle, a 2-part tool, and a multi-part rating system. I'm going to go through each of those 3 components briefly, and then talk a little bit about how it works when you're actually implementing the evaluation model. So first of all is the 5-step cycle. The cycle starts and ends with a self-assessment. May not be quite what you call it. It's what it is basically we're at the end of the cycle and the beginning of the cycle. So where are we? Where do we stand in terms of progress that was made in the last cycle? With that information, it's also going to give you some idea of what you want for goals in the upcoming cycle. Often find that because the work is ongoing, the goals evolve more than they change drastically from cycle to cycle. It's sort of what's the next step in progress as we go from cycle to cycle. So with that information, you're working with the superintendent to create the goals and a plan to implement the goals. Obviously, once the plan is created, then the goals get implemented. Partway through the cycle, there's a formative assessment. This is not a written evaluation. It's really just sort of a check-in of what is the progress we're making on the goals. Do we have any questions? Do we have any need maybe to alter the goals based on circumstances that have happened so far in the cycle? Ideally, this is not the only time you're talking about the goals. Ideally, you're sort of getting updates as appropriate as the goals are being implemented. So you have that formative assessment at the halfway mark, essentially, somewhere around there. And then you'll have the summative evaluation at the end, which is the formal public evaluation of the superintendent. As part of the information you'll have to do that is the self-assessment. So that's where how that falls both at the beginning and the end of the process. So the 5-step cycle, then the 2-part tool. So the first part of the tool is goals. They should be SMART goals: specific, strategic, measurable, action-oriented, rigorous, realistic, and results-focused, and timed and tracked. And SMART goals also have key actions and benchmarks. So there should be goals in 3 areas: a professional practice goal, a district improvement goal, student learning goal. You may not be able to tell the difference between a district improvement goal and a student learning goal. That's perfectly fine. District improvement goal may be focused a little bit more on something. Suppose you have a big building project going on or something like that. It might be more the focus of a district improvement goal in any given cycle. So the goals are focused for Lynn. The goals are what is going to move Lynn forward. The standards are the same for all superintendents throughout the state. So that's the second part of the tool, the standards. Instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture. So those 4 standards are the same for all superintendents. The standards are in a document you'll often hear about the rubric. That's what the standards are. That's sort of the document with the standards in it. So within that rubric, there's a structure. So there's the 4 standards. Each standard is further broken down into indicators, and each indicator has a descriptor of what that looks like when it is implemented from needs improvement up to exemplary. Uh-oh.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Oh, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem.
We can hit it on the laptop too.
Yeah.
Or Don has one. Don, can you bring your clicker?
Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is just an example of a standard. So this is just an example of a standard.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So the standard one, as I said, is instructional leadership. Under instructional leadership, curriculum is part of that, having a standards-based curriculum that you're implementing for your students. So what does that look like from a needs improvement level up to an exemplary level? So you have those descriptors which help you place how the work is being done on that particular indicator. You'll always see proficient in bold. That's actually the language of the regulations. DESE considers to be proficient to be a high and expected level of practice. You'll often see at the end of exemplary the phrase, can model this for others. That means that that is being done at a high enough level that becomes a model for other superintendents in the state or in the region. The idea is that exemplary is used sparingly, that not everybody is exemplary all the time. So 5-step cycle, 2-part tool, then the multi-part tool. So the superintendent will get a rating on goals that goes from did not meet up to exceeded, a rating on standards, which goes from needs improvement up to exemplary, and then an overall summative rating that combines the two, which also goes from unsatisfactory up to exemplary, or up to exemplary. Make sense? So that's the 3 key components: 5-step cycle, 2-part tool, multi-part rating system. Questions? Yes.
So this is a refresher, correct? This is from the retreat?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. This is, for those of you who have been here, this is a refresher.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't
Nothing
adding any
drastically
additions, so
has
no
changed.
changes to that
No.
tool that we went through?
No,
Okay.
no. Good question. So how does it work? So at the beginning of the cycle, you're going to work with the superintendent to create an evaluation document. You work to draft the goals. Some committees do this with a subcommittee. Some committees do it with the superintendent coming to the full committee. I'm not sure, I think you work with a full committee. Okay. However you work, ultimately it's the school committee has to approve what the goals are. The usual process is that the superintendent comes with draft goals, and then you discuss and make that decision. Once you set the goals, then pull out that rubric, and you're going to identify a limited number of indicators in the rubric to evaluate the superintendent on. There's about 20 altogether. Don't use all 20. That's why we set the goals first, right? That moves you forward. Then you're going to pick a limited number of indicators that relate most closely to the goals that you've set. And we'll talk a little bit more about how those two tie together in a second. The trick is that you have to evaluate on all 4 standards. There has to be a rating on all 4 standards. So when you pick that limited number of indicators, there needs to be at least one indicator from every standard. You can decide to weight the standards differently. I'm starting to say this with great hesitation because I've only ever seen since 2014 one committee that decided to do this. But if you decide there needs to be an emphasis on a particular standard, you can give more weight to that standard. That would then come out, and when you do the overall rating of the standards, you put more weight on the rating that you gave that standard to get to the overall rating. This is part of making it easier the rest of the way through. Once you have those goals set, it's good to have a discussion with the superintendent on how are you going to show us progress? What can you show us that'll help us understand that progress is happening? It does a couple of things. The superintendent has one evaluator, which is the committee as a whole. But those evaluators have different brains, right? A bunch of different heads that are putting this together. So the more that everyone has the same expectation about what those goals are intended to accomplish, the tighter you'll find all the ratings at the end, which makes that final evaluation by the committee much easier to happen. The other thing is that the superintendent, you are not flies on the wall. You don't see everything the superintendent is doing. So that gives the superintendent a chance to think about how can I show the committee this work? How will I show the committee this work? So that's why that's in red, because it's really good to take that step back and have that discussion about how will we know? And once you've done that, then you can also create a year-long agenda, which I'll talk about in a second. So when you're developing that document, the first thing to do is agree upon the goals. One of the things that can get tricky with SMART goals is that M, measurable. It's a lot easier to measure whether you completed the task whether than you had a measurable outcome change. So when you're thinking about the goals, you're sort of asking the question, what do we want this to accomplish? How will the district be different at the end of this evaluation cycle if those goals have been implemented? So that you can think about that as when you're thinking about the outcome of the goals. So you're thinking about not just outputs, which would be sort of the task completion, but outcomes, what will be accomplished when this goal has been met. Then agree upon the applicable indicators. Again, make it specific for Lynn. Do the goals first. Think about what you want Lynn schools to be accomplishing through the superintendent's work. And then go into the rubric. That's the same for all superintendents. And again, not too many. Don't overload the number of indicators that you're using. Determine the weighting on the standards if you wish. And then again, discuss the evidence that you'll be looking at to understand progress on the goals and proficiency on the standards as you go through. Then you can use that to create a year-long agenda. So you know what the goals are, you've seen the sort of the plan, so you know where some of the benchmarks are. So then you can use that to sort of plan presentations throughout the year that will help you understand progress being made on the goals. That again does a couple of things for you. You're building the knowledge throughout the year, so you're not waiting till the end of the year to sort of get a data dump of evidence to complete your evaluation. You've built up that knowledge throughout the year, then at the end, you're really kind of reviewing what you've heard about all year. The other thing is you'll be starting to understand a little bit when the next set of goals comes along, right? You're hearing about the progress, so you're starting to build this understanding of what's going to be next, what's going to be needed next, what are we going to be doing next. So that, again, will make things easier as you get to the beginning of the next cycle when you understand exactly where you are at the end of this one. So I said there were some things that are, actually, I should stop and ask if there are questions before, yes.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering in this process how Jessie feels about the difference between qualitative and quantitative data, especially as it pertains to, you know, doing things in the middle versus at the end. Like the suggestion you had with regards to a data dump at the end suggests we're talking about quantitative, but qualitative can sometimes be much more useful. So can you tell me a little bit about how they privilege that difference?
So I don't think they really have much to say about it. It's really going to be your decision.
Okay.
You're right on the mark, right? There's going to be both, right? Some of it is going to be more qualitative, and there may be some that you don't get to the end, but you know what you want to be looking at. You may not know the data till the end, but you know what data you'll be looking at to measure. And then some of it will be, the progress will be a little bit more quantitative or qualitative as you go along. That make sense?
It does, thank you.
Okay. So what's required and what's optional? What's required is SMART goals in the 3 areas, rating on all 4 of the standards, and the overall summative rating. The things that are optional are you do not need to, if I haven't made the point enough times, do not use all the indicators. Weighting the standards differently. The timing of the cycle is up to the district. I think your timing, I believe, Mayor, is pretty set already.
Right, we've been on a cycle.
Yeah. So, I mean, different committees decide to do it on different timelines. How the evaluation tool is used, whether it's used, for a raise, contract extension, you just do it, a bonus, how it's used is up to you. And then the process for completing the evaluation varies from place to place, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the nuances of that. So generally, in order to complete the evaluation, everyone is going to do their own individual evaluation. I think of this as sort of the clear off the kitchen table and spend a little bit of time doing the work to get this done. You'll have the self-assessment, however, whatever it's called, the update, whatever it's called, but that where are we now? You'll have the evidence. You'll also have your own observations, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. But you're using the evidence that's been provided by the superintendent, and also your own observations over the time that you've been working with the superintendent in that cycle, and a form to use to fill out the evaluation. All those individual ones go to someone, the chair or a designee. I believe you have used Robin.
We've used a designee, yeah. I
in the
think the
past.
secretary last time,
So it goes to take the individual ones and turn it into a compilation, a composite evaluation that reflects everybody's viewpoints. It's always helpful for everyone to understand how that composite is going to be put together before you actually go ahead and do that work, just so there's again, that common understanding can make things happen a little bit more smoothly. And then once that composite is done, it is discussed and voted on at a public meeting. The open meeting law specifically excludes professional competence as a reason for executive session. That's why the superintendent is evaluated in public, because it's a discussion of professional competence. So again, when you're thinking about the goals, remember that they're specific to this district, this superintendent. You want to consider the actions or the progress that's been made on the action items and refer when you're doing this. So part of the nice thing about this model for educator evaluation compared to what many committees used in the past was when it's done well, it's a more objective tool and it's a less subjective evaluation. So when you're putting together your decision on how do I think the superintendent did on the goals, you're looking and drawing from the evidence and your observations to be able to choose your rating and to make any comments that you want to make or any narrative that you want to provide. Then the standards, again, the same for all superintendents throughout the state, and you're doing the same thing. You have that evidence and your own observations as you're putting together the standards, or your ratings on the standards. So you need, as you're doing it, again, keeping in mind the evidence that you have, your observations, the time frame of the evaluation. So you're evaluating on a particular time frame, not things that happened in the past, not things that, you know, so particularly for committees that may have an evaluation cycle where the cycle started before they stepped on, you want to remember it's when you were sitting at the board table that you're evaluating on, not times before, or not something that happened years ago that you still are thinking about, right? It's this evaluation cycle. So you want to be able to tie your ratings to those observations, to the evidence, and to the time frame. So that, I knew we had a short time to do this today, so that's like the quick and dirty. We do have, I will send this presentation. The people that have worked with me before know I never like to send it ahead because I want you paying attention to the, reading ahead to the next slide. So we do have information on this on our website, a sort of a narrative guide to everything that I just went through. DESE has a lot of information on their website about educator evaluation. One of the things that they have is a series of videos where they have a chair and a superintendent from various districts, various types of districts across the state, talking about the different parts of the evaluation and how they have made it work well for them. This is something I think, particularly when it first came out and it was new to everybody, felt very overwhelming, very different from what we've done before. I can say that as the years have gone by now, people have a much better understanding and it's an easier process. The more you go through it, the easier it gets. And people have found it, I think sometimes people come in and they're ready to really want to hold the superintendent accountable, but in order to have that good working team, we talk about the superintendent, the school committee, that governance team that works together well. This evaluation tool with being goal-centered, can really help that team work together, have mutual expectations for what's going to happen, and make it a tool that really helps move the district forward. So.
Thank you so much. Are there questions from the members? Yeah, Member Castellanos.
Are we planning to do a retreat? We're going to be looking at possible.
Yeah, so we have a current set of goals that are in place right now, and I would imagine that we would want to do another retreat in August. Typically is when we've done them to set the next cycle's goals. Would be my initial thinking on that.
Can we just kind of describe to the members of what that would look like, just how we experienced it? I think it would be good to kind of discuss what that looked like. I know you put a lot of time into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the typical, the retreats that you facilitated for us, yeah. Do you want to just say a couple words about?
Yeah, so we've come together and done, I guess, a little bit of review of what we are doing, what the process is, right? And then I believe Dr. Tutwiler has presented his sort of assessment of where things are, given the committee a chance to ask any questions, so that you're aware of what, I do this so much, I make sure I'm taking it right committee. So, go ahead.
Do you want me to take it? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'll just pick up where you were.
Yeah.
I mean, you were right on track.
Yeah.
I usually present a draft set of goals. We have a conversation around each one of them, and we take your feedback, to come back at a later time with a refined set. We've also used that retreat time around the operating protocols, which are seriously important. both the development of them at the very beginning and the refinement of them, it was like a year or two after. And so probably we'll want to do that again also to make sure that we're, making some substantive commitments around how we work with one another. So, the retreat time is food and niceties, but it's also goal development and operating protocol or norms development also.
Yeah, I think the evaluation process is obviously incredibly important, important part of what we do on the school committee. And I think one of the reasons why it's so important is because we have this opportunity to have the goal setting conversation. And I think we've been in a good rhythm of doing that regularly, and I expect that to continue.
I just want to add too, it gives us a time to assess priorities and I kind of go through what worked. That transition piece, I think that was very helpful when we did that retreat. I don't think we had one over the last summer.
The timing got thrown off. We did one in the middle of the year because we missed the summer before, but remember we did it upstairs.
Yeah, we did it upstairs. I remember. And I think that's something that was a big takeaway, just to kind of get back, I like that.
Definitely. Any other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much.
I mentor. Zach. I'm Brian. Zach. And then Beth. Brian's is brother. Wayne. Yeah, I think that's the little.
So when I was running my own company, I did a lot of like visualization. I got really good.
School. Well, they just released, you know what's great? Well, not for us. We had to go to PCR, it was a hectic, they released all of that. Now, you guys are good, they need people they were talking about, they missed it, dude. So we got A1 hospitality, we got the entry was good. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had so much fish. I was having like ceviche every morning. I love that. I did it all though.
Yeah, we were there Saturday, June 26th.
All right, the open mic session is designed to provide an opportunity for citizens to express their views on matters of concern to the school committee. The sessions are not designed to encourage debate or lengthy exchange of views, but are to have the committee understand numerous points of view. The committee would appreciate speakers giving their presentation to 3 minutes in order to accommodate as many people as time permits. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on the same topic to 3. All speakers must be 18 years of age or enrolled in high school in the Lynn Public Schools District and having discussed their views with a student government representative. The chair reserves the right to rule the speaker out of order if he feels that the speaker's comments are personal in nature, if the speaker's comments are directed at a school committee member or a member of the school administration in attendance. That member, through the chair, may address the individual. The sessions will promptly commence 15 minutes prior to the start of the regular school committee meeting. There's a sign-up sheet right there, if anyone, yeah.
Where is it?
Please go ahead, yep, right here, yep. I don't believe, there's no one, is there anyone else already signed up there? If there's no one else signed up there, you can stay there.
Okay.
You can go first if you want.
Sure.
All right, if you could just please state your name and address.
My name's Sapath Singh, and I live in Lynn. Okay, so thank you so much tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and Dr. Tutwiler, Mr. Mayor, for an opportunity to speak tonight. So, when I came here to the public hearing tonight, I was hoping for an open dialogue to have a two-way conversations, because I'm here to represent the 1,300 signatures that we got, and the food is the main concern that's on the agenda. It has been 16 weeks. We have many women, men and women, working and researching this topic. This is, we have parents endless hours emailing us, messaging us, telling us stories. We take that time and opportunity to listen and feel their pain. Through their pain, we feel our pain as well. So we are asking tonight to have that opportunity to have the two-way conversation. I am very tired of having the one way. So if we can somehow come to that term of having that two-way conversation, as in like I'm asking a question, you answer the question, you ask the question, I answer the question along that term, because we would like a resolution. I'm sure things will take time, I get it. But as day goes on, every single day that these kids are being served, bad food. And I have talked to students when I drop off my kids, and they come up to me, they're like, Miss Sophia, last week was Chinese New Year, guess what I got? I got noodle and frozen mystery meat. And I tell you, that's not fresh, it's frozen. And I'm like, do you eat it? I looked at it, and it's frozen, and it's cold. And another one, we have another child just told us that they got frozen pizza. And here it is, we're saying, hey, you guys, this is fresh food. How can this be fresh food if Revolution Food does not even cook, wash, prepared, cut, or whatever you call it? You know what women, ladies and gents, you cook the food. You go to the store, buy the fresh food, you cook it up, whatever you saute it, right? And then you feed your family. Revolution Food doesn't do that. They get from vendor A, who actually specializes in chicken, and especially broccoli and cheese and pasta. And what did he do? By the time it gets to Revolution Food, those food probably frozen. They probably gonna thaw it. Guess what? They're already old. They old food. By the time we get to Lynn Public School, and who actually inspected upon delivery? Like, do we even have that report? We are demanding transparency. We would love to have an audit. Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Mayor, please, we would love to have an independent audit on the Lynn Food Management Department. And also, have any of you guys been to the Revolution Food, like physically, like a surprise visit? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, thank you. Anyone else who would wish to speak at open mic? Anyone who wants to speak at open mic? Anyone who wants to speak at open mic? All right, seeing none, we'll close the open mic. Thank you.
Yeah, that.
Want to sit down for a little bit?
Okay, so that's. I only have one, so forgive me.
That's a perfect size.
A lot of nieces, nephews, and cousins. Yeah, there's 13 weeks. I don't have my own kid, but I've got my own kind of a lot of family there, so almost every school. I'm gonna do that. I'm not breaking out all together.
That's it.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, man. Y'all live in school? So all you guys do. So I'm a parent. I got a family boy, so I got nieces, cousins, aunties. They look great. He's on the IEP. I need some help. Oh, I hear it all. And then the department, that's the whole other animal there. Yeah, she fails those letters and emails. That's all. Yeah. It's kind of, you see it, it's bad. Nobody can touch it.
Yeah. I've been running. I know this guy. I'm saying they're good because Hustle showed me. I've actually been able to get some good commentating too. It's quite good. It's quite good.
All the special programs, and they acknowledge the special programs.
Thanks so much for coming out. What's that?
Don't worry about it.
No, I know.
That's the unfortunate. What's up?
Yeah.
And then they, nice president, all right, let's see, you gotta help and all
Oh,
sorts.
no, it's not my role. No, not at all.
Yeah. Overnight, I thought somebody was in trouble. I see him, right?
Like, I'll last week. Next week, I don't know.
I keep turning.
Very good. Oh, yes.
I have a lot of food.
It's very good. That's literally, Can I write this down for you? Would that write this on?
Yeah.
So what it is the recipe for what's called and then we open up the spicy.
Oh, my students. Yeah, I usually
Get some taco bars and bring them by.
There you go.
Forget these questions.
Exactly.
And once we do that, we get joined. You don't have to, this could take
Just fine, thank you. I think everything
Just have to make sure the boxing glove wasn't in the back.
All right, I'd like to please call to order the third regular meeting of the school committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Capola? Present. Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately? Present. Member Magnolia? Present. Member Pena?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for Catherine Linda Brown McGrath, former chairperson, January 22nd, 2022. Thank you. Starting with the minutes, we have 3 minutes.
I'll make a motion that we accept all 3, starting with the Committee of the Whole meeting on January 24, 2022, Committee of the Whole meeting on January 27, 2022, and the second regular meeting on January 27, 2022.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next item is appointments and elections, and we have a school nurse election.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking for the committee's support in electing Andrea Cervenka to the position of school nurse.
What's the will of the committee?
Second.
Is there a motion to?
I make a motion to support school nurse Andrea Cervenka.
Second that. Roll call, please, and then just as a reminder for the committee, for the roll call, you will be stating the candidate's name when we call your name.
Member Castellanos?
Andrea Cervenka.
Member Capola?
Andrea Cervenka.
Member Dugan?
Andrea Cervenka.
Member Gately?
Andrea Savanka.
Member Magnolia?
Andrea Cervenka.
Member Pena?
Andrea Cervenka.
Mayor Nicholson?
Andrea Cervenka. Congratulations. Next item is a dual language program update.
Yes, that's been tabled.
Motion to table.
Motion to table.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. That was just a scheduling item.
And Mayor, may I make a motion that we start for the first under new business to have discussion on masks.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia? Yes. Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite our Public Health Director, Michelle Dismaris. As she's coming up, I just wanted to obviously remind everyone that the state yesterday afternoon lifted the statewide public school mask mandate, and we wanted to discuss here what would be our next steps. We have invited the City of Lynn's Public Health Director and also consulted with our team of medical advisors, representatives from North Shore Medical Center and Lynn Community Health Center. And I know Dr. Tutwiler has been in close working relationship with our health team, the nurses as well. So, Mr. Samaras, would you like to start off?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to the committee members that I don't know, congratulations and nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I'm at City Hall. Please feel free to call me anytime. The mask mandate, Mayor Nicholson had rescinded the mask mandate for the city yesterday, which I think is a good thing. I think that there has to come a time when we all have to learn to live with COVID. We have to learn to live with COVID. We have to learn how to keep ourselves safe. We still need to keep our students coming to school. we still need to keep businesses open and thriving, the businesses to keep them open. So in that respect, I think that, and especially we have had a decrease in numbers, and I think that the vaccinations are the most important to help combat this disease. So the more people that are vaccinated, the better. But I think that we all need to start to learn to live with COVID. And if that means, taking off our masks to try to go back to some sense of normalcy, I just think that we'll never have a normal, but we will have a new normal. And it's a new normal that we have to try to practice safely.
Thank you, Mr. Smaris. Dr. Tutwiler, yeah.
Yeah, if I could just follow up that comment with a letter that the director and assistant director crafted and couldn't be here this evening. I'd like to just read that letter into the record if that's
Please go ahead.
Okay. Dear Lynn School Committee, as announced yesterday by Governor Baker, local school districts must decide whether to keep the mask mandate or move masks to optional. After careful consideration, it is our recommendation that the Lynn Public Schools move to a mask optional model. Our decision was based on the following information. One, a sharp trending decrease in the number of positive COVID-19 cases reported each week since winter break. And there, with the letter, there's charts that sort of depict or illustrate that decrease. Two, an increase in the number of students over 5 years of age vaccinated for COVID-19 and the ongoing frequent availability of vaccine clinics at our schools in collaboration with Lynn Health Department, Mass General Brigham, and Flag Pharmacy. That is also depicted at the bottom of that letter. A low transmission rate in school is proved through the Test and Stay program. Per Mass DESI data collection, close contacts tested repeatedly in school tested negative over 90% of the time. As of January 9th, 2022, there were 500,000, little more than 500,000 tests conducted in Massachusetts. Of these, 496,000 were negative. A significant decrease in positive pools, and there's a chart indicating that. The addition of the weekly at-home testing program available to all students and staff. And with this new model, masks will continue to be required with the recommendation of mask optional. There's still some mask requirements on all buses per federal order. If an individual is symptomatic at school, for anyone working in or visiting the nurse's office, for health staff completing COVID-19 specimen collection for symptomatic or pool testing, and for those who are returning to school from isolation or quarantine for 6 to 10 days. Lastly, we recommend that unvaccinated individuals continue to mask while in a school building. Again, that would be their choice, but the recommendation is that unvaccinated continue to mask. We are committed to the health and safety of our students and staff. We will continue to monitor the number of positive COVID-19 cases in our schools. If we see a rise in cases or transmission, we will promptly communicate with Dr. Tutwiler and the Lynn Health Department. And for the record, that communication happens daily already.
Thank you. So I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts from the city's perspective. I think we're excited with the positive trend, obviously, and made that decision on the city side yesterday in consultation with Mr. Smaris. I think that a couple of things I want to point out about the school side. So for obviously we're operating within the confines of the DESI requirements. So this is something that's going to be taking effect in the future, and I think it's really important for us to remember that the vaccines are the most effective way we have to battle the pandemic. And while we've made a lot of progress on vaccination, there's still work to do. There's still work to do to get more people with their vaccinations up to date, which is really important. And we're continuing to do that. And I think a focus, particularly for the Lynn Public Schools, for the age ranges from 5 to 11, continues to be a priority for us, and one that we've been talking about with the Lynn Public Schools, the Public Health Department, Lynn Community Health Center, North Shore Medical Center, as a way to continue to create opportunities, overcome, answer questions, because I think while we're very encouraged by the improvement in the numbers right now, I think there is still a pandemic happening, and I think being prepared for the likelihood of some iteration of future surges is really important, and that's where the vaccines become so important and so helpful. The same with the testing, and I think the public schools have built out a very robust testing regime, which I think is really important. The other thing I want to mention from the city side is that I totally understand and recognize, I'm sure members of the school committee understand and recognize and have received feedback from folks that still have concerns about their health, the health of their family. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that the city has a robust supply of N95 masks, the sort of highest quality mask that's available, which the medical community really emphasizes is effective. It's effective.
We're fine.
I just want to remind everyone that we're still under a mask requirement in this current building because it's public school. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So the N95s are very effective for individuals who are wearing the N95, even if those around them are not wearing a mask. And we have a robust supply of those and can make those available for people that continue to have concerns. And I would imagine that making masks optional, obviously the implication there is folks can continue to wear the masks, and we can continue to make those N95s available for people that have concerns. So, having said that, do we have questions from the committee? Yeah, Mr. Dewey.
Sure. I'd like to start with a clarifying question, actually. Just because of the way this got on our agenda, this is for Attorney Greenspan. I know we're going to discuss this. Should a motion come forward, are we able to vote tonight, or is that something we'll need to wait on?
No, I think you can vote tonight. I sent a email to the mayor this morning. I CC'd all members, outlining my position.
Yes, I saw that. It just mentioned discussion, not voting, so I just wanted to, right, okay, thank you. And then can I also make some comments now? Or
please, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, I've heard from many constituents, both sides of the aisle here, within the last 24 hours, as I'm sure many of you have. And so it was very thoughtful. I think the community engagement around this has just been great, so I just want to thank everybody, first of all. But I'd like to speak in favor of the February 28th lifting the mask mandate and making it optional. For a couple reasons. First of all, the vaccination, as Jared mentioned and Michelle mentioned, but also just our students' mental health. Kids with, especially our special ed students, our most vulnerable students, many of them have sensory issues. The masks do affect that. Our younger students rely on those social cues from facial expressions, and I think it's been detrimental. It's been detrimental for their social emotional health. I think. Like I said, many people may disagree, and I think, and that's okay, but I just believe it's time. It's time to let our kids get the masks off and let them remain optionals, and let them, emphasize to families that it is an option, and that, the N95s are available. And I understand comfort levels are very different, and anxiety levels are very different, but I think if we work together as a community, we can definitely, help each other out and get our brains around this. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Member Magnolia.
So I had asked if we had any data regarding the percentage of students who did the opt-in testing. This letter from the Director of Nursing and the Assistant Director of Nursing cites the entire state in terms of percentage. So do we know how many students in the Lynn Public Schools and what percentage, if you happen to have this, I didn't ask this in the email, elementary versus middle and high school, because I just want to reiterate numbers that we got, which is only 24% of our 5 to 11-year-olds are vaccinated, compared to 75 and 79 when we get up to the older grades. Is that information still correct?
So, correct, that is actually citywide.
Citywide,
not
yes, I understand.
necessarily
Yes.
Lynn Public Schools, but citywide. And, just quickly, as far as the opt-in goes, 1,784 of the 16,000, nearly 500.
So about
students.
10%.
Correct.
Okay.
But I do want to note that when this started on, at the end of January 31st, we quickly shot up to 966. So there was a pretty significant response right away. And we've doubled that essentially over the past 9-10 days. So I think that number will continue to grow. I'd also like to point out that about half of, actually a little bit more than half, 60% of our elementary students are engaged in the pool testing, which is a weekly testing piece of about 4,400 students. We are not doing pool testing at the secondary level. The vaccination rates are pretty high. And then they have the option to do the at-home testing. And so, we feel pretty confident that there's, both with the vaccination rates citywide, and I do want to be clear that that is not the Lynn Public Schools. It is across the city. It might be students that attend, Sacred Heart, St. Mary's, or KIPP, or somewhere else. But we know the vast majority of those students are ours. And with the pool testing piece, we think that's important. And I also want to bring in the opinion of, we've heard from Michelle Desmaris, we have a note here from our nurses. Our nurses were able to connect with the school's doctor, Dr. Kuczynski from Lynn Community Health, who also supports what they propose, which is a mask optional. They did not put a date. I know that the state requirement ends on February 28th, but in conversation with them, their recommendation is to begin a mask optional 2 weeks after the February vacation. In the event that there's a surge, we'd rather wait and see. We don't believe that there's going to be one, but we'd rather wait and see and be safe, and start it 2 weeks after students return from February vacation.
And if I can just make a couple comments
Please,
then.
yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to speak in favor of moving to mask optional on March 14th for several reasons. Among them is that there is still work to be concluded at several of our schools regarding ventilation issues that is projected to complete over that February vacation time. And I feel that this date gives us a sense of whether or not we will see a surge. I understand that the natural immunity folks got who did get COVID, who were unvaccinated, from Omicron will last a little bit. So if this unvaccinated population has also already had COVID, that boosts up that 24% number. But I also want to recognize that as we move into warmer months, teachers' mitigation strategies of opening up windows just becomes much more possible. And so March 14th is not February 28th. Even 2 more weeks into March means the chance that we'll be in sub-zero weather is much lower. And I know there's no motion on the floor, but I think that splits the difference of all of the constituents that approached me with concerns on both directions, including the LPS staff. And I want to make sure that whatever we vote on, the city coordinates not just with the school department, but also with the Lynn Teachers Union in case that there's a more efficacious method of distributing those N95 masks through the building representatives. Okay, thank you.
Could I just add one thing?
Please, Mrs.
The
Smash.
school department, the 2 nurses that we deal with, Deb Tanzer and Jackie Western, we are on 3 times a day at least, we speak with them. Also in the health department, we have contact tracers who follow up with positive cases or close contacts, and with that. Also, we were provided a list of phone numbers to call families to try to encourage them to join the opt-in program for home testing. And some of them we did find out had computer issues and that they weren't able to. So as of yesterday, we had enrolled 150 more people. So with the phone calls, I find that it is much more encouraging, and I do find that more families are more encouraged and more able to opt into the at-home test program. Thank you.
Dr. Shelby.
Can I just briefly offer, Dr. Magnolia referenced the ventilation projects going on. I just wanted to offer just a brief update on that.
Thank you.
So by way of reminder, the school committee voted to allocate funds to, I want to say restore, that seemed like the right, seems like the right word. Ventilation systems in 10 buildings. The project began last year and still continues in earnest in a couple of buildings. 7 of them are complete, and I could name them if you'd like. Brickett, Cobbett, Druids, Fallon, Lincoln Thompson, Pickering, and Washington are complete. Aborn and Tracy are scheduled to be completed over February break. They're 80 and 90% complete respectively. But they do have systems up and running, just not complete. They're working on finalizing that. And then as has been shared in the past, Effect O'Leary is a longer process because of the asbestos abatement. So that project I don't have, I can't put a specific timeline on just yet, but they are working in earnest to address that. They've also, and I can share this with you, they've also done air exchange reports or analyses in each one of these buildings, and are finding that the air exchange is at or higher than the recommendation or the industry standard for fresh air exchange, so in those buildings where the ventilation projects are complete. So I think we're in really, really good shape with respect to that. And as Dr. Magnolia referenced, after February vacation, the last 2 schools should be complete, excepting FECTA, which will be a longer process.
Thank you. Member Castellanos.
So thank you for bringing those points up, Dr. Magnolia. I had a similar question. So I guess the piece I want to point out on the communication that we received, I think I would like this might be a question for the health director. I'm going to ask just a general question. If we do see rise in cases and transmission, and I see that we're going to promptly communicate with Dr. Totweiler, and you guys have been doing that already. It's not like we're a couple years into it now. But could you just kind of talk me through what those plans will look like? What measures are we looking at? What numbers are we looking at to make an actual? If we're going to make a step, so if it starts to increase, what does that look like? Could you just kind of clarify that for me?
So if we find that there's an increase, that's why I like the 2 weeks after February 28th also. But I think that when we find that numbers are increasing, then we bring it to Dr. Paczynski's attention first, Mayor Nicholson's attention, and then we start to say, okay, we see a surge in this, like there might be a cluster at one school, I'll just make it up, that it might be a classical, and we look for reasons as to were they all together. Was there a basketball game? Was there a football game? Was there a hockey game? Were they all together? We try to determine how many people were actually involved and start from there. So we determined that, yes, there was a cluster at wherever place it was. It might be at a birthday party, it might be at a wedding, but we always try to determine where it started first, and then we go from there and we follow up with close contacts, and we give our isolation, quarantine, and if they are vaccinated, then there's different rules also.
That's really good to hear, and I know the vaccination programs that you guys have been running through the city, and you see a lot of the proactive work that's been done. It's much appreciated. I believe we will continue that.
Yes. In Lynn, you can get a vaccine Monday through Saturday. Mondays at Lynn City Hall in room 401 at the Health Department, 4 to 7 p.m. Fridays, 9 to 11:30 a.m. Tuesday afternoon, 2 to 6 at the Brickyard. On Linden Street is the Mass General Clinic van that goes around and does that. And Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday over at North Shore Community College, Cataldo Ambulance also has a clinic also.
Just for the public, you don't need a health insurance
No, it's free.
So,
No.
just,
And you
just for the public
And you
knowledge.
don't need ID, you don't need insurance, you're just free to come up and we'll give you a vaccine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Just to build on that a little bit, I think, you know, that in addition to that tremendous work that the public health team is doing with the contact tracing and in a number of cases, I think you know, Mr. Smaris mentioned in close touch with Dr. Paczynski, and as also our partners at the North Shore Medical Center, and another key indicator there is the hospital capacity, as a sense both of the strain on the region and the severity of the illness that's being transmitted. You know. Member Pena, then Member Gately.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation and informing us. I have a 5-year-old who's in kindergarten, and I just want to echo on what Eric, my colleague Eric, was touching about. So, as a 5-year-old, I know how important it is for them to learn from watching facial expressions and being able to communicate and read lips. And at home we can engage, well with my son, but I see he's struggling in school, and it could be, they need, kids at that age, they need to see facial expressions and reading lips and learning how to try to communicate, especially special eds. I could see that happen. Also, I wanted to do we have actual reports on the air quality control in our schools?
So yes, we have a very recent report on in the buildings for the project, the ventilation projects were happening. We also commissioned our own not an air quality report, but an air exchange report, right? Because it's really about the fresh air exchange that evaporates micro droplets in the air that might be carrying the coronavirus. We commissioned that. It was completed over the winter vacation, and we're just waiting for the final report on that, and we'll share that out publicly also.
Thank you. And also just I was thinking of a date, possibly like March 20th, which is the first day of spring, when we actually start opening windows and where teachers can start, ventilating the schools, and it's much warmer than February 28th. And that's all. So I'd like to state my opinion.
I'm sorry, can I just follow up one thing? Yesterday, the Lynn Health Department held a clinic at Shoemaker where we did 16 students from the coach class. And it was very, very successful. We've also been to Harrington, and we've also been to Ingalls. So we do try to include everybody, and it's important that we go to their surroundings as to what they're familiar with, more comfortable. And the teachers were great, and the paraprofessionals were awesome too. It was really very successful yesterday.
Thank you, Mrs. Maris. Member Gately.
I know this sort of sounds a little irrelevant, but one of my constituents emailed me about the basketball tournament, the elementary, and they were wondering if it was going to be canceled. They were like for the mask mandate, to be optional, but they were concerned that they would not have that tournament because they haven't been able to have elementary basketball.
So elementary basketball has been basically played on site, so schools playing within the school. When we sent that out, we also noted that we would reassess, and the goal was to have the basketball tournament.
So my question is, would it be doable?
Yeah, I think it's very doable.
I mean, if the date is March 14th, it would still be doable.
Yeah.
The other concern, one of the parents had contacted me, was the autistic program, and how it's very difficult for children wearing masks in their class. And then the Tracy air quality, but we already addressed that. So if the basketball tournament could be a go, I would be with March 14th. I think we should wait a little period after the vacation.
Thank you, Member Gately. I think with Member Capola and Member Magnolia.
And the only concern I have, and I know the staff is excellent, so they'll be observing this, but my concern is that there'll be no mask shaming for any kids. I suppose we just have to remind everybody of that, and especially a lot of these kids may be uncomfortable taking the mask off at this point, so just if we could send a message out on that.
I just want to, I appreciate you raising that, and that is extremely important. And the benefit and the time that we have, actually, as soon as you make a decision, but with the additional 2 weeks after vacation, will give principals the opportunity to set culture around this is coming and here's how we're going to treat each other with respect. And I'd also say that we've got a little bit of experience with this. Last summer, we were mask optional in all of our summer programs, and had an opportunity to visit a number of them, and some were wearing them, some weren't, but they were all learning and engaging with one another. And so I believe in our kids, that they'll do the right thing, but I think being intentional and proactive around setting culture around that is really important. So I appreciate you raising that.
Thank you. Yeah, Member Magnolia, and then our student representative.
Oh, I would cede to her to be able to speak first.
Please go ahead, Ms. Martinez.
Hello, my name is Nadesha and I go to Lynn Tech School. So I would like to give my point of view on masks as a student. So I think they should be optional because it's not gonna get us, it's not gonna prevent us from getting COVID because we're always close to each other and we always, not all students wear the mask properly, and some of us just forget to wear a mask every day. And as a student, we all understand that that everybody has to feel comfortable on their own way, so we wouldn't actually judge other people if they want to wear their mask. It's just like a personal thing, if you want to wear the mask or not. Like, it's how we feel comfortable. Like, me personally, I don't like wearing the mask. I don't think it's gonna do anything as long as we're all vaccinated and we have a strong immune system, which is, I think that's why the vaccine is for, to get us our immune system like stronger, so that if we get COVID, it's not as bad. So I don't think masks would actually do anything, but I know some people feel comfortable wearing them, so I would think mask optional.
Thank you so much. Member Magnolia, Member Castellanos.
I'd like to move that the Lynn Public School System go to mask optional on Monday, March 14th.
Second.
Discussion, Member Castellanos, did you have something?
No, I was going to put a motion forward.
Great minds.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Sorry, 1 minute, sorry. Sure, yeah. Just as a suggestion for a friendly amendment to incorporate the state's DESI requirements for buses to continue to require masks, individual that's symptomatic at school, anyone working or visiting in the nurse's office, health staff completing the COVID-19 specimen collection for symptomatic or full testing, or the return to school from isolation or quarantine for days 6 to 10 after.
Friendly amendment accepted.
Let me say one other thing. I don't know if the MIIA has ruled yet.
They have not.
They have not, okay.
Okay. All right, motion on the floor. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Dismaris. If I could just thank you and your team for everything you're doing, the public health team, the nurses that we have, all the staff that's worked through this, the families, the students. I think it's a very positive step forward. Obviously doesn't mean this is over, but it's a positive step forward. And also, while we're on this topic, just a reminder that the city is giving away free rapid antigen tests tomorrow afternoon and evening at Lynn Tech. Thank you.
Thank you.
A motion to approve Attorney Greenspan's contract and authorize the chair to sign. Oh, did I miss something? Oh, I apologize. Student opportunity.
All right, Student Opportunity Act Amendment discussion, Dr. Pella.
Yeah, this is really just a brief sort of refresher update as it relates to the Student Opportunity Act. 2 meetings ago in the superintendent's report, I informed you that there is an amendment that is required for every district in the state of Massachusetts that is due the 1st of April. Myself and Mr. McHugh were able to participate in the webinar with that information. And I just wanted to offer a little bit about what we learned from that and give you a sense for what we plan to do in the coming weeks. So I gave you a one-pager. I'm obviously not going to read all of that aloud, but for everyone's information, the Student Opportunity Act is really designed to account for a formula that hasn't worked for districts like ours, Fall River, Lowell, Brockton, Revere, urban districts for close to 30 years. In this landmark legislation, the new formula will come in the form of notable increases in Chapter 70 funding to account for the many years of underfunding over the course of 7 years. We are currently in the first year of that increase in funding, and as you know, the governor's budget was released 2 weeks ago, and there again is a notable increase that is, due in full part to the Student Opportunity Act. With the increase in funding, DESE has a responsibility to help districts do what those funds are intended to do, and there are 4 sort of commitments that they expect every district to make as it relates to developing a plan around that funding. As you can see, that includes focusing on student groups who have not achieved as high as their peers, working to develop programs that support closing achievement gaps, reducing disparities in achievement among student groups, and then engaging families meaningfully in this work, particularly families who represent those subgroups who have been historically marginalized. So for most of the committee, or some of the members who were on board when we developed the Student Opportunity Act, are very familiar with it, as are the new members, because it was part of your welcome packet. For everyone's information, there are 4 things that we committed to do, and that commitment came as a result of a very robust and substantive stakeholder input process. We met with families, we met with parent advisory groups, we met with lots of teachers, we met with students to develop these 4 foci. And that involves increased social-emotional supports for all, an increase in special education services, more attention to our English learner. I'm just giving you sort of a high-level description. And then also working to create an opportunity for more collaborative time for teachers. If you turn on the back side of the one-pager that I gave you, I'm going to skip down to the bottom. DESE has expanded on the 17 evidence-based programs that they initially had in the first iteration of the SOA planning to include the things that you see in this list here, expansion of the arts, dual language programming expansions, deeper dive with developing school family partnerships, and so forth. And so bottom line with this is a lot has happened since the first, since we first launched this process and gathering input and creating the Student Opportunity Act plan. And what DESE is recommending is to, acknowledge that a lot has happened and to really get a sense for was your original plan, or is your original plan still relevant? Is that what your stakeholders still think you should be doing? And so it is our responsibility to re-engage with our stakeholders to find that out. The plan is to not throw away that old Student Opportunity Act plan, because again, that reflects people's thinking and opinion about what this district needs and should be spending those funds on. Well, we want to make sure that that's still what people think. And so we'll be crafting, again, a robust stakeholder input plan process, and then also looking to marry where possible and appropriate the Student Opportunity Act plan funds with our ESSER 3 funds, which we presented this fall in this space. We just want to make sure that we're not going in opposite directions with funding streams, that we're moving in the same directions, that they complement each other so that students get the most benefit from this increase in funding. So my plan is, with this information, and we were on that call actually last Thursday about this time, maybe a little earlier. Our plan is to sit with the team and craft a stakeholder input process. Again, it's not going to be, I think, people get a lot of surveys. We're going to be thoughtful about how we get this feedback. We want people to have the opportunity to give it. So we have to think creatively about how we're going to do that. And then I'd like to come back to this space and share out and give you a sense for what people are thinking and feeling as it relates to those funds. And then in our budget planning, you will see connections between the updated thinking from the community and our budget request. April 1st, we're supposed to submit any amendments to the Student Opportunity Act. So we've got about a month to do the stakeholder input process.
Member Castellanos.
Dr. Tutwiler, thank you so much. And I just want to also note just how much work and inspiration that got poured into this process to gain the Student Opportunity Act from the Teachers Union to the legislature. There's so many people involved in this process. It's really inspiring, and I just want to when we go through this process, I just want to make sure that social emotional learning and what we've done, for my 4 years on the committee, I stand very firm and still to this day that's a major priority for me and my constituents and many other folks in this room. And I do appreciate all the efforts and everything we've done to invest in our students. It's really, we're going to be fighting, we're looking to fight the dropout rates. We're looking to reduce, the school to prison pipeline, the trauma to prison pipeline. It's important. It's very vital work, and there's a commitment there, and it's very, it's visible. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Castellanos. Member Magnolia.
So I would just like to implore you to use parent-teacher organizations to the best of their ability as they are organized in schools. One of the things that I have noticed in my time with the PTO in my child's school is that it's great at fundraising for that 5th grade trip. But let me just say, there's not a lot of stuff to stink your teeth into. And I think that PTOs would jump at the chance to be able to solicit feedback from their own members and funnel that to the school department. So don't overlook them in this process of very quick information gathering.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dr. Tutwiler, for the presentation.
A little ahead, but I'll make a motion to approve Attorney Greenspan's contract and to authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. So I am going to sign it and pass it down so that we are signing here in the open meeting. Thank you, everyone. So we have executive sessions next on the agenda. If folks want to make a motion to amend the order to move up the superintendent's report, we could do that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna dance around this document, but you have it, and I'm pretty good at dancing. You have it in your package. So when Dorothy Presser was here, we talked a little bit about the retreat, and one of the many important actions and activities we do is to, refine the operating protocols. An agenda item that surfaced, I think it was our first, one of the first meetings with our new members, was to think about a way to make the operating protocols live. And what I do in this superintendent's report is make a recommendation for one way that it might. This need not be the actual way. I certainly would welcome ideas, but reflecting on the operating protocols that were discussed briefly at our January 13th meeting, I'm formally proposing an approach. It's my recommendation at our March 3rd meeting that an agenda item be posted indicating our intent to reflect collectively on the operating protocols, and that we do so in the following ways. After a careful review of the protocols, I'm inviting members and myself and my team to identify one on which we need to do better collectively. And then I'm also recommending that, based on what we know about the remainder of the school year, to select one operating protocol on which we should focus to facilitate stronger outcomes in our work together. That's one way that we might be able to sort of keep these operating protocols alive and sort of honor our commitment to them. The second part of the superintendent report focuses on what some members have asked questions about, and I wanted to make sure to address it formally, and that is the emergency license for educators. Inasmuch as we have embraced creativity and created new pathways to address student need, the state has done the same. One such pathway was the creation of the emergency licensure to allow districts flexibility in hiring. Established in 2020, an individual who possessed a bachelor's degree was eligible for an emergency license across all content areas and specialties. On January 5th, 2022, this provision was extended to June of 23. Because federal law imposes requirements on educators to teach students with disabilities and English learners, special education and ESL licenses were not included in the extension. Teachers licensed in special education or ESL can apply for and attain the extension upon demonstrating the required subject matter knowledge. ESL teachers will need to pass the ESL MTEL in order to extend the license. Moderate and severe disabilities licensed teachers will need to complete a competency review. Most will be able to do so through the DESE Structured Guidance and Supports Performance-Based Assessment. LPS currently has 127 staff who've leveraged the emergency license. Of that group, 19 hold ESL licenses and 34 hold special education licenses. Licensure is the responsibility of the individual educator. Nonetheless, we're in a unique context which calls for a different, more supportive approach. We are preparing MTEL supports for staff who require it, although we'll be prioritizing those holding emergency ESL or special education license. We are currently running MTEL preparation courses for both subtests of the communication and literacy MTEL, and we are researching the potential of MTEL preparation courses for the ESL MTEL. We're working with all emergency licensed special education educators to ensure a competency review will be completed by the end of the school year. The district will work with these teachers to complete the competency review through the structured guidance and supports process over the course of a 150-hour internship within the classroom with support of an appropriately licensed mentor. About 1/3 of our emergency licensed special education educators have completed the competencies through college coursework and will not need to complete the structured guidance and support process. The Office of Human Resources and the Assistant Director for Staff Quality and Development are partnering to make this as seamless and supportive as a process as possible. What is more, I'm told DESE is working on creating additional supports that emergency licensed staff can access to help them through this process, because many districts are in the same situation that we are. And finally, I'm thrilled to offer what my high school history teacher used to offer. I used to call them congrats-ograms. I'm thrilled to offer congrats-ograms to 2 Lynn English high school musicians and their teachers. Lynn English freshman Sierra Bonilla, who plays the viola, has been accepted to perform at the Northeastern District Junior Festival this spring. She also earned the distinguished second chair viola position for the festival orchestra. Lynn English freshman Valeria Mendez has also been accepted to perform at the Northeastern District Junior Festival. Additionally, she was selected to be a Mass Music Educators Association All-State Festival Choir, to be a member of that, I'm sorry. I am deeply proud of these students, for sure, but I also credit their hard work and the incredible guidance of Mr. Ibanez and Ms. Imobuli for supporting them toward that end. That is all I have.
Thank you. So remaining on the agenda are requests for executive sessions. If someone would like to submit a motion and with the reasons for the executive session.
Make a motion that we go in executive session to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining relative to Lynn Teachers Union Local 1037, Administrators Association, Nurses Local 3147A, Clerical Union Local 1736, Monitors, Teamsters Local 42, and Vice Principals Association. The discussion of these matters, which involve strategy in an open meeting, may have a detrimental effect on and compromise the bargaining position of the public body. Okay, and also a request for executive session relative to contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and also a request for executive session to update and discuss school security issues.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, roll call please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gailey?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. We'll be breaking for executive session. I just want to thank Nadisha Martinez, the student representative from Lynn Tech. Great job this evening. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. Kids are freezing.
Good job.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay, I come back. Okay, and then you do straight to, and it's the one on the left. Okay, then I know where that was.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary! See you later, Ron.
I see it every day.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Oh, you're outside? Are you all set?
Yes, I'm all set. Thank you so much.
Good, how are you?
Yeah, you're actually gonna be quoted this. You're actually gonna be quoted this evening. So. I'm doing fine. You know, my mother had a birthday the other day. My brother did. Mine's coming up on 26. So. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, happy birthday once again. I wish him the best of success. Thank you, Lenny.
The barbershop is still open. I did the eating. I did the eating. I did that. I started.
Oh my God. So, like, that's awesome.
Yes, yes. So I did the machinist training. And,
That's awesome.
I just want to chill over there. I hope so. They offered me the job. Matter of fact, you guys are here. You guys are offered me a job, so I'm in the process right now.
Oh, I didn't know you know.
Right now, I have a start date of the 21st. Yeah. So.
Oh, good. That is awesome.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Done good by pay. You're taking good money and doing all right.
Yeah, and our Uncle Frank is in there. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
And the president of that union
So we asked for $5.
is great. Kaz, I think he's really good activist.
So it's just like
nothing we've seen.
I mean, I had my experiences with Tony.
Yeah, yeah. But Tony was not 201, you know.
Oh, he wasn't?
Yeah. So
Just use the office.
Peter Stefano was in charge of 201 before that, and now Adam Gibbs is, and then it was Jeff. It'll come to me in a minute, but Jeff was, he was also 201, and he was also the National Legal Counsel. And then, and now it's Adam Kaczynski, who's 201, and we've got a good work with So, really good there, really good racial justice group that works with 201.
All right, I gotta get going. See you later.
I am excited about being involved with everything.
Get to 206, buddy, move it. You're holding me up.
I'm excited about getting to know the ins and outs. You know what I'm saying?
What are you doing?
Taking the back way. Looking for someone to lead them up there.
Well, I could have let you in that door, sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna be this person. I'm happy to see you. I'm happy
Nice to see you too, I'm so, congratulations.
You know, sorry for your loss.
Just
I'm
one,
missing.
Oh, I know, yeah, he's here.
That
stinks. Good, yeah.
So
I know you,
I'm
if
taking
I
off.
said that
It's
name, you'll
gonna be late
recognize me, like, inside, yeah, so.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We'll use the restroom, and then I got a few more things to do tonight.
Okay. You must have been looking out. Were you working out?
Actually, I gotta get back into it. I have a membership over at Crunch, and really it's just a matter of
Oh,
me
you
just
did,
going.
you tried, yeah, my friend tried to register.
Yeah.
The water's important.
The water's the most important thing.
I know, I live by that. Have a good one.
This
Chilling.
is gonna be a long executive session, you think?
Yeah. But, you know, it'll be shorter, because he used to be right there.
Well,
I know, because it used to be in this room here, and we could hear them, and then he'd be in there yapping, laughing, jump, and I'd be like, shut up and get out of here. And that's why.
How you been?
Good, how are you?
She's smiling tonight, like last
Yeah,
time.
no.
Last time me and you walked out, I was like, whoa.
It all depends on whatever's on the agenda.
So there's not, she's, no, this isn't her fucking fault.
Well, I mean, family, it's distant family.
How distant?
But so my
my mom's cousin. So my second cousin. Yeah.
I don't know that you like it.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah.
I like to like some people, but you know how it is.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
So have they brought up to you guys about, like, testing policies, you're not vaccinated? Right. Shield that too, because that's.
They would make the food,
stuff
they would make
going on.
food every day.
They bake.
Right, so she's complaining that the food's frozen.
I don't understand that there's always something. I know COVID's.
No, it's not.
issue with Jared, but there's just so much going on.
So much.
And then if they take
Did
the
you remember
mask
Mary
off,
Alice
then, like,
Sutherland?
See, March 14th.
She ate fucking
Yeah.
lunch for 30 years.
Crazy that even stuff.
30 years, every day she got lunch.
The numbers are low, right?
Well, other than
And I
that.
think so many people in our union are vaccinated, so
I don't know. I think, well,
hopefully,
she's grabbing
the equals are back. I'm
Not one
going to
video
vote
when
on
you put me on her
the president of the finance union, police union, coming, and they're all freaking out saying that they're going to be furious because of policy, why we need to do this.
I had to eat.
That's what I was just telling Richard, I've been here since 6:30 this
In
morning.
public buildings,
Yeah.
but the police fire in their place.
Well, I ate my bigger meal at lunch,
and
then I ate one of my fuelings
Today they didn't.
at 4:30, but
I usually wear
supposed to
one.
eat every 3 hours.
There you go.
No, it isn't.
6 times a day.
I like the
That's what I
turtle.
do.
Small meals.
Well, that's
Oh,
what I
yeah,
do.
Brian
That's
was
why you
like,
Yeah.
got all the weight, because it's
But
when you do it.
This
I'm gonna
is
ask Brian where you got that one. You reckon where that one?
a shake
They told me.
mix.
We came with
I take and I add egg whites, baking powder, and I bake it in a muffin tin.
I can't sit.
And this is one shake and I get two.
I'm hot through it.
It's a lot.
I'm getting waxed.
Really.
So, and I'm vaccinated,
You
so
toast
I
them,
want to be
too.
all set, but I guess not.
You see,
So,
it's a lifestyle
I wanted to
change.
ask you.
Yeah.
They brought up, COVID testing policy.
Yeah,
So where were you with that? Because,
I'm waiting to find out tonight.
you know,
Because I pushed back and said we shouldn't have to get our test ourselves.
no, we got all that, yeah, they have to supply, and we're gonna,
You're gonna have to supply, and I think if you're gonna get one PCR test,
we
then you can get a PCR test, or you can get the two tests.
3 antigen tests with them.
And then I asked for 10 additional days for family leave if your kid or somebody has it. 10 days,
10 days, wow.
10 more days.
10 more.
I already got 5. I got 10 for them personally, now I get another 10 for the family. They better get it.
Do you think you're gonna, do you have to vote on that with your teachers union, or can you make that decision?
If I didn't
That
have
was up
family
in the
members
air.
I can bring it to my executive.
to help me, I had
Because it's
Kelsey
just
was
a,
out 6 weeks.
I might have to vote on it, I'll have to see.
So my attorney, she said, well, because the police and fire are voting on it, she said, I would play it safe and just vote it. But I think most of my members are vaccinated, but
Yeah, I'm gonna vote on it,
some of
too.
them are furious because you have to put it in that portal that say that, you have to let them look to see your vaccination
You're right, you can
status.
get that thing from the state.
I know, I just don't understand. Some people just want to argue shit with
So shit, I have those people too.
You
It's
want to
fine.
scream, I'm like, what do you even care for? You're vaccinated.
It's HIPAA, my HIPAA.
Yes, that's what they're all saying.
My HIPAA rights. I'm like,
It's against the law, they can't.
that's not true. How about if you go to the Boston Ballet, you gotta show your fucking vaccination information card.
You go Salem, you
This
can
is the other
go.
part that said that you got the
Well, they want to go in and see it.
Not
They
anymore.
gotta give them permission to look.
But every time I walked in the gym,
I mean, most of
still
us
have that.
got it,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the Board of Health has it. I don't get it, they just want to.
Yeah, but you can go on the state thing, you can get that scan.
It
It's
shows.
just and it has nothing in it, it's just a scan.
No, they won't accept that because those doctors giving fake, do you mean the cards? Yeah.
No, the state, if you're listed, if you got a vaccine, you're
Yeah.
listed. You go to the
they
state, you
give
have
you
the
a
state.
whole download of everything you were
They want
vaccinated.
permission to go in and look at that, and these people are freaking out thinking.
No,
they're
it's
gonna look
not,
at
it's
other
a
stuff.
scan.
Like a QR code, that's what you're talking
Then the
about.
fuck is,
I don't think they want that, though. They want to be able to go into Michelle just mentioned, they go into the Board of Health, department and personnel and law.
I could care less.
Me too. We don't-
me too.
It's a
Have
big
it.
deal, you're vaccinated.
Yeah, but we
They don't
say,
want the card.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
That's the portal they're talking about then.
That's it.
That's
That's
simple.
it.
You go to the Commonwealth of Mass, you fill this out, and then they send you the link to this, and you get it.
And all you have to do is this, and that
Well,
is,
that's all, if you have an Android, you can't do that one, come on.
Oh.
but you can,
I have an Android too.
but you can also have it on your files, because I also have it in my files.
Yeah.
Over here, in the files. There it is. Oh, by the way, there it is, it's right there in my files. Like, I mean, come on, get.
Well, we
like,
have people in here that won't get vaccinated.
That's their choice.
They will not.
That's their choice, yeah, like, I'm not fighting with those assholes. But I'm not talking with them, I'm not eating dinner with them.
We have a person in here that will argue tooth and nail with me, because I brought up about, I have a granddaughter that's 1.5.
My grandson turned 5 January 25th, he got vaccinated last week.
Oh.
So I'm hearing a lot of people don't want to get their booster though, so.
I
know a lot of people, I got everything.
When you watch your child at 30 years old, lay in the
I know
bed.
what you went through, yes, but I, you know, I don't know, I'll be honest, I'd be scared to sicker than my 5-year-old kid, me personally.
No, my grandchildren just got it, they're fine.
Older, they get older.
My grandson wears that mask like no problem,
Yeah,
he never takes it off, never. And like, he goes to Vaccination, he was in close contact with somebody who got COVID. He never got COVID, ever, you know why? Because he wears his mask.
Yeah, but they had some
Hey,
numbers
Kush,
too,
what's up?
of people that were vaccinated and boosted, they still got COVID, so, yeah.
Everybody but 2 people.
What? Oh, shit. Okay, thank you, bye.
A lot of people.
We can still be heard, they've still got live mics.
What? What did we say?
I don't know.
We're talking about COVID vaccination, right?
We didn't name names.
See, that's dangerous, these
Oh, there were
things.
little kids in there, that's why
They have little kids where? Oh, upstairs?
No, in the office.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, we
Oh,
don't say
sorry, I have a
anything.
question, please. Mr. Castellanos is here?
He's upstairs in the executive session.
Ah, okay, it's closed, no?
Yeah, I think it's close to that.
Okay, we're here. Thank you.
You're
No
welcome.
problem. Yeah, so I don't know, like I don't know, I think everyone has a right to their opinion, I'm not gonna argue
that's-
with them.
No, I don't argue. I said, if you don't want a vaccine, I already went through this with people, I don't care. I respect what you're doing or not doing, but when I mentioned my granddaughter, I said, look at, respect my rights, what I believe in, is all I want you to do.
But we have a lot, Eddie Detroit, his wife, they were vaccinated and boosted, they both got sick. I don't know, there's a lot of people in that union.
You guys in restrooms around here?
Yes, right there, there's one on the left.
Thank you.
So I don't, who knows? I'm not.
See, it's not gonna bother me, because I am vaccinated. And I don't have anything now anyways, I'll tell you my life story no matter what, so.
I don't know why they think that it's such a big deal to show you.
Oh my God, they could hear everything. I have gotten 4 text messages.
From who?
Upstairs.
From my members.
Well, we just talking about vaccination.
No.
No, sir, no, we didn't.
Yes.
We did, we said about it.
You were talking about the...
We've got like people that know anything about it.
I don't know about it, because I'm not sure what you're talking about. I was just talking about people.
No, they can find out. Can you erase that?
Yeah, do some edits.
That's wild right now.
It wasn't the worst executive session, so, all right. Especially since you had so many things on the agenda. Howard, you having fun yet?
Yes, I got 20 seconds. Yeah.
During executive session, I ate my snack. You have to be prepared.
Will there be any plans for,
You know, we're in for the long term.
No? Good? It's been a little rest.
Yeah. Movie time.
Those are the best vacations. Some stuff done around the house.
That's what's all on. The best vacation is doing nothing.
It's not healthy.
No, somebody sent me a screenshot of somebody else's.
Yeah, sure.
I make a motion to return to executive session. Sorry, regular session.
Thank you, Brian. Regular session.
Anybody second? Yeah, second. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you. We had one vote to approve the continued impact bargaining from the superintendent with local Lynn Teachers Union 1037, Administrators Association, Nurses Local 3147A, Clerical Union 1336, Monitors Teamsters 42, and the Vice Principals Association.
Make a motion, so moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
See, on these nights, you just have to look and see if there's executive session, dinner at lunchtime.
Mountain of God, and it heals everything along the way. I've tasted and know that for every broken heart there is healing in Jesus' name. It's a river that flows from the fountain of God, and it heals everything, everything along the way. I've tasted and know that for every broken heart there is healing in Jesus' name. There is is healing in Jesus' name. There is healing in Jesus, healing in Jesus, healing in Jesus' name. In the midst of my confusion, time of desperate need, when I'm thinking not too clearly, gentle voice does intercede. Slow down, slow down, be still. Be still and wait on the Spirit of the Lord. Slow down and hear His voice, and know that He is God. In the time of tribulation, when I'm feeling so unsure, when things are pressing all about me, comes a gentle voice so still, so pure. Slow down, slow down, be still, my child. Be still and wait on the Spirit of the Lord. Slow down and hear His voice and know.
En la tarjeta de la prueba, aquí vas a ver que hay otra ventanita que tiene una C y una T. La C